Um, this is my thing is like it's all speculation if Elway has anything to do with like decisions. I don't believe Elway has anything to do with decisions. Um, for me, Elway in every aspect has built this brand because to be honest, like Elway, bro, before Elway, this Broncos brand really was just like, an on value team, low market team. Elway helped build what the Broncos have become, like not right now, but when they started, being successful, winning championships. He was a part of every single Super Bowl run.
J-Mac, then Jordan, then me. What is your record prediction for this year? Will the Broncos make the playoffs? What seed will they be? And if they do make the playoffs, how far will they go?
So, before I did record predictions, before like camp, before injuries and everything, and I had us going 11-6. I had us going 11-6. Now with Tim Patrick out, and a few other guys getting hurt, I think now I got us going 10-7. I think 10-7 is gonna be the Broncos' record, and I think we make the wild card. It was kind of hard because I got a few other teams there, but I had to redo it because of injuries and signings and stuff like that. But I have the Broncos getting in wherever the 5 through 7. I think Broncos may get like 6 or 7, but definitely I think we make the playoffs. I definitely think we make the playoffs, but I think 10-7 is the way. But I'm gonna tell you the team. So I have us losing. Y'all might not like that. I have us losing to the Dolphins. Have us losing to the Jets. I have us splitting with the Chiefs and Chargers. Losing to the Bills. Losing to the Browns, and that is it. But the Chargers can kind of go like the reason we could still be 11-6 if we sweep the Chargers. But I went ahead and just said we split with them and the Chiefs.
At least we break the
Offensive coordinator on the Green Bay Packers knew nothing about controlling an offense since it was clearly Matt LaFleur who had all control over Aaron Rodgers. So what Hackett tried to do was implement Aaron Rodgers' playstyle on Wilson, which clearly kept them back from his potential. Let's also not forget that Randy Gregory and Javonte Williams will both be returning from injury this season. Let's not forget the Broncos also bring in Samaje Perine, Ben Powers, Mike McGlinchey, and Zach Allen. With a new sheriff in town because Sean Payton is an offensive guru and offensive mastermind, I can see Russell Wilson returning back to his Seattle self. Plus a top 5 to 10 defense behind him, I have no doubts the Broncos will make the playoffs.
Wins. Here are my predictions. Week 1 we host the Raiders. There's a lot on the line here. Give me the Broncos. Broncos are known for starting off hot, so I think we beat Washington and we're 2-0. Week 3 we go to Miami. We don't usually play well there, so give me the Dolphins. Week 4 we go to Chicago and I think we win. Week 5 we host the Jets, kind of a 50-50 game, but give me the Jets. The next week we go to Arrowhead on a short week. I think the Chiefs beat us. Week 7 after a long break we host the Packers. I think we win at home. And then week 8, this is the year we are going to beat the Chiefs. Week 9 we have a bye into a Monday night football game at Buffalo. I think the Bills are going to win, but there's a chance the Bills do implode this year, so I don't know. Week 11, we have Sunday Night Football at home against the Vikings. Give me the Broncos. Week 12, we host the Browns. Give me the Broncos. Week 13, we go to Houston. Give me the Broncos. Now, week 14 and 15, I think we lose one of those, but I'm not sure which one, but I like our chances against both, so I'm going to take the Broncos against both. Now, the Broncos suck on holiday games, and I think we're better than the Patriots, but I think the Patriots win this. Week 17, we're beating the Chargers in Denver. And week 18, I think the Raiders will have nothing to play for, so give me the Broncos. I think the Broncos will win 10 to 12 games, so yes, give me the over this year.
Have signed former Chiefs defensive lineman Frank Clark. The contract involves $5.45 million fully guaranteed over 1 year. And Denver's defense was actually really good last year, even though they lost both Bradley Chubb and Shelby Harris. And the guy they signed to replace Chubb, Randy Gregory, was honestly not as good as they would have hoped, in my opinion. And their secondary was already really good with guys like Pat Surtain and Justin Simmons. So to think if Frank Clark can turn the clock back even a little bit, this defense is lethal. The Denver Broncos.
So without further ado, reason number 1 why the Denver Broncos are going to make the playoffs in 2023? Sean freaking Payton. Now I know that's an easy answer, but let me tell you why. Go back to 2005. The New Orleans Saints were one of the worst teams in the NFL. 3-13, embarrassingly bad. In 2006, Sean Payton took over as head coach, and what did he do? He led them to the playoffs. The Broncos were a 5-win team. That's way better. Well, way better. That's just a little bit better than a 3-win team. And the pieces are there. Everything is there. And I'm convinced that everything that we saw, or most of what we saw from Russ last year, was an anomaly. So usually it's the other way around. If a player, especially a quarterback, has 1 or maybe 2 really good years, those are the anomalies. Carson Wentz comes to mind. To me, that's not Russell Wilson. Now, I'm not going to be the guy that blames everything on Hackett. That's low-hanging fruit. But I'm going to blame 93% of what happened on Nathaniel Hackett. And it wasn't just the play calling. It wasn't just Hackett being Hackett. You know, all the things that we as Broncos fans have come to kind of loathe and despise. There was no continuity. Week to week, there was no semblance of a game plan. He wanted to call his own offense. He wanted Justin Alton to call his offense. He wanted Russ to cook and do his own thing. That kind of crap is not going to happen with Sean Payton.
How do you feel about audibles? We generally just want the quarterback to run the play that's called. That's the play.
Let Russ cook, let Court eat. That is what happened to Russ. Cook, let Court eat. That is what happened. Russ cook, let Court eat.
Why Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos will have a bounce-back year. Disclaimer, I am expecting the Broncos to make the playoffs. Firstly, Wilson is working with Sean Payton. Sean Payton is a capable coach and a proven winner. Secondly, the Broncos finally have a full and healthy roster, and they have had sufficient time to work on the issues they had last year together and hand in hand with a capable coaching staff. Let's face it, Russell Wilson is still a top 15 QB, so there's absolutely no reason they should be underperforming. And by the way, their defense is a top 5 defense anyway, so they can bail them out.
And put this motherfucker right here on my screen. Let's go, guys. Broncos have officially signed Nathaniel Hackett to be their next head coach. Finally, we got an offensive-minded head coach.
The Denver Broncos have hired Nathaniel Hackett as the 18th head coach of this team all time. We can get into the nitty-gritty, but let's just start with sharing our gut reaction. Go.
That's my gut reaction, baby. All smiles. And you know what? It might be premature, but I don't give an F, Chad. George Payton got this. Could not be happier with this move, Chad. And we can get into all the components about it, the assistants that he's going to bring in, and Aaron Rodgers and this and that, Devontae Adams. But they finally have a head coach who you can feel comfortable developing a quarterback. Doesn't matter if it's veteran or rookie, old or young, Aaron Rodgers or Drew Lock. It's a turning point moment for the franchise. It's a big one, and I could not be more excited.
Sincere, I know you were looking forward to him potentially being the guy. Now he is.
I'm stoked about it, Cody. I really am. I've been looking at my phone kind of in the morning, checking to see. I always have some type of notifications on my phone every morning when I wake up, and I'm always just like glossy-eyed, just like looking for excited stuff in my texts and stuff. And this morning, of course, I wake up and here's all these people texting me like, oh my gosh, like everybody's so pumped. And I'm excited too, man. I feel like Broncos country should be excited. Like I can't wait to see what, a little bit into the interview process. Like we talked about on a previous episode, we get to see behind the Broncos about this. We'll get to hear from Nathaniel Hackett probably sometime very soon. So I just can't wait to see and hear more about what his vision is for the team. I'm excited to get started. And I think, going back to what we talked about back in December, Cody, this is the best move, in my opinion, for the Broncos quarterback position for the foreseeable future, right? I mean, he signed only a 4-year deal according to what's been reported out there. And I say only 4 years, but that's plenty of time to turn things around. So I think we're going to get to see some good stuff, and I'm excited. I'm really pumped, and I think Broncos country should be too.
Bottom line for me, Colin, is that you look at Nathaniel Hackett, and he brings some energy. He brings enthusiasm. He brings that kind of new school of coaching. Players just want to know that they're being developed. Players want to know that they're going to have a chance to get better. And I think that's what Nathaniel Hackett brings. He brings an excitement and an energy. And I'll tell you, going around the National Football League and meeting with coaches and meeting with different organizations, like you walk into the Rams organization, for instance, and Sean McVay just lights up a room. And I think that's what happened here. I don't think he was necessarily the number one candidate right off the bat, but I think he lit up that room. He brought that energy. He brought that enthusiasm, plus that football knowledge. I mean, this guy's a football lifer. His father was he was a football coach forever. And so I think that all that stuff came together and he became the front runner. He became the number one candidate through this process, through this interview process. So I think it's a really good hire. And, I always say there's two types of people, the type of people that energize the room when they walk into it and the type of people who energize a room when they walk out of it. And last couple of years, they had one of those that energized the room when he walked out of it type of coaches, and they want to move into that new frontier of NFL coaches that are positive, that really bring that energy, that bring a different way of teaching. And I think Nathaniel Hackett is one of those guys.
Broncos have hired Nathaniel Hackett as their head coach, and I am over the moon for this move. The first head coaching hire in this head coaching cycle, which now included 9 teams looking for a head coach after Sean Payton stepped down from the New Orleans Saints. The Denver Broncos go with Hackett, and my dream scenario for the Denver Broncos was Hackett at head coach and then Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Now, we'll wait and see what happens with Aaron Rodgers, but to be sure, this gives the Broncos a better chance of landing Aaron Rodgers via trade like they tried to last year until Green Bay got cold feet. Does it actually happen for them this year? Well, this Hackett move signifies that more changes are coming for the Denver Broncos. The Broncos.
What an exciting day this is as the Broncos finally, thank God, finally hire an offensive mind to be their head coach.
Yes, thank you, offensive mind. So they went different that way, but they went the same as it's a first-time head coach. He does have a little more experience. He's been an offensive coordinator for 8 years in the NFL. He's been at 3 different stops in terms of being an offensive coordinator, so you hope that background is different, especially than Vance Joseph, who only had 1 year as a defensive coordinator. But man, the Broncos needed offense so bad, and they finally get it.
Well, the biggest thing for them getting offense is what happens at quarterback.
Yes.
And that's and I think that's bigger than just hiring Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, you just go and look at the
Really? You guys knew the whole time that this team was no good. You knew the whole time that the front office was no good. You knew the whole time that John Elway was calling the shots. You knew the whole time. Is that why you guys were hating on our channels? Is that why you guys were reporting our channels? Is that why our videos are shadow banned? Is that why videos are taken down from Bucketman's channel? Is that why? Is that why I showed 2 off seasons worth of content creators hyping up this dog shit roster? Is that why? So you guys knew the whole time that Russell Wilson couldn't wave a magic wand? You guys knew the whole time that Sean Payton couldn't wave the magic wand? You guys knew the whole time that this offensive line sucked? You guys knew the whole time that your receiving core sucked? You guys knew the whole time that your defensive line is terrible? You guys knew the whole time that putting 4-3 defensive ends as outside linebackers in a 3-4 system was going to be a problem? You guys knew that having 2 basically identical players in Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell, who are too slow to cover the middle of the field, to be a problem on defense? You guys knew that, huh? You guys knew that your secondary wasn't any good? You guys knew that Patrick Surtain was overrated? You guys knew that Justin Simmons was dog shit? You guys knew that, huh? You guys knew that the defense was a paper tiger last year? You knew that, huh? Even though that the warning signs were there, that the defense was dog shit when they dropped 51 points to the Rams. But you guys knew all along, huh? You guys were way ahead of the ball on this, huh? You guys weren't saying that this team was going to make the playoffs last year. You guys weren't saying they were going to beat the Chiefs last year. You guys weren't saying that they're going to beat the Chiefs this year. You guys weren't saying any of that, huh? You guys were saying that they'd start off 0-3. Because it wasn't me and Bucket Man who had a schedule prediction calling this team starting 0-3. You guys, we didn't have that. That never happened. You guys knew that this front office is dysfunctional. You guys knew that these draft picks that they've made for the last 8 years have been dog shit. You guys knew that, huh? I mean, get fucking real. The unmitigated gall of you guys to say that you knew all along that this team sucked really Really? Is that why we have Broncos fans making rap diss tracks towards other organizations that kick your ass in your own backyard? Is that why? I mean, you guys are the most dishonest fan base I've ever seen. I just got banned off of the Denver Broncos Reddit for basically telling it like it is, saying that, the current Broncos front office needs to be blown up. They need to bring Adam Peters in as GM. They need to bring in a head coach who Adam Peters is familiar with, someone who's a program builder and has the X's and O's, and I think the perfect fit for that is Rich Scangarello. He showed that he could develop young players. You put Brandon Allen in front of him, he'd find a way to make him effective. Drew Lock, he'd find a way to make him effective. He found a way to use Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Dalton Reisner in the offensive line. You had Mike Munchak. You had a foundation that you could build off of. And then John Elway in the front office decided to blow that up and bring in Pat Shurmur. Rich Scangarello was fired for no reason. Rich Scangarello had head coaching potential. And you need to poach as many San Francisco 49ers staff as you can because you need the team program building mentality here in Denver, and they completely lack that. All Denver is about PR, Band-Aid fixes, retreads, and shit-talking, no results on the field. And in order to change the culture, you have to get rid of everybody. Everybody. And that includes Sean Payton himself. Sean Payton ain't fighting no political war. This dude came here for a fucking check. He might retire at the end of this season. He might go back to ESPN and make 2 checks. Denver's ownership needs to buy out all of these fucking shitty contracts and or just release them and take the cap hit. You need to get rid of all the players that were brought in by the Elway and Joe Ellis regime. You need to get rid of anybody hired by the Elway regime. You need to get rid of anyone who's shared a 500-foot radius with Elway and the Elway regime. And you need to start the fuck over. And you need to poach as many people from teams like the 49ers. You could poach people from organizations who have their shit together, like the Bills. But you need to make Adam Peters your GM, and you need to let him call the shots, because at the end of the day, him and Pat Bowlen are who built your Super Bowl 50 roster. But no, we can't have that in Denver, right? We can't have people who know what the fuck they're doing in Denver. We can only have PR and hype. But for you guys to say that you knew when you spent these last how many off seasons shitting on our channel, hating on our channel, resorting to violence because of what we had to say, which we turn out to be right every single season. The only thing I was wrong about was how bad it would get. 70 fucking points. I would have never even thought that would happen. The only thing I've been wrong about is the degree of how bad it would get. So for you to say you already knew that, if you knew that already, you'd be subscribed to our channels, because we're the only ones who have been saying this. You find me a content creator who isn't shadow banned. You find another content creator who said that this team was going to be dog shit next year. Please find them for me. Find me a clip of Broncos Avenue saying that this team is going to be dog shit next year. Find me a clip of DNVR saying this team is going to be dog shit next year. Find me a clip of Cecil Lammey saying this team is going to be dog shit next year. Find me a clip of Zach Stevens saying this team is going to be dog shit next year. Find me a fucking article of Mike Kliss saying this team is going to be dog shit next year, if you guys already knew. Find me a clip of Savage Sev saying that. Find me a clip of anybody in Broncos content creator land saying that. The only ones who have been saying that are Denver Bronco Mile High View, Bucket Man, and myself. I challenge you to find me clips of them saying that the Broncos would be sub 500. Please. You guys still think that you're going to go 2-3 and that you're going to beat the fucking Chiefs in one of those games. You guys are delusional. And you guys are still saying that it's only Vance Joseph's fault. You guys still don't even grasp the fact that this team needs to be blown up. that this whole organization needs to be blown up and rebuilt from the ground up. There are fans out there who are finally starting to see the writing on the wall, and that's good. Because the narrative needs to go away from we need to fire a coach to we need to fire everybody. Everybody, including the players. Any player that was associated with this regime needs to go. But you guys already knew it. Most dishonest fan base, most dishonest content creators I've ever heard. You guys are talking about playoffs, 10-win seasons. It's all right here. From the last 2 off seasons, so you guys are a bunch of liars. You guys didn't know anything. We were right, and we get the credit for it, because at the end of the day, we were the only ones saying this. So at the end of the day, the people who were on this thing when everyone else was hyping this team up were us 3. Nobody else. Nobody else was on this. Even the fucking national media thought this team was going to the playoffs. The only ones who were on top of this were us 3. And that will never change. Because it's too much to come out and say, we were wrong, you were right. You got to lie and say that you knew it all along. Shut the fuck up. If you knew it all along, why are you surprised that the team started 0-3? Because that's what I expected. That's what Bucketman expected. The only thing we were wrong about is how bad the Broncos would lose in week 3. Here's what I predict will happen. The Broncos will beat the Jets, they'll beat the Bears, and they'll act like they're back in the big dance, and then they're going to be back to reality when their schedule starts actually getting tough. Because quite frankly, your first 5 games are easy as fuck. You got the most team-friendly schedule for your first 5 games of any team in the NFL. You should have beaten the Raiders, right? If you were any type of like decent team, should have beaten the Raiders, should have beaten the Commanders. Did you not see what the fucking Bills did to the Commanders and Raiders when they played those teams? You're below the level of the Raiders. You're below the level of the Commanders. They're still the same shit teams they've been. Raiders are starting to rebuild. Commanders are still the Commanders. And you guys just are that bad. I knew you were going to lose to Miami. I called that. That was a complete mismatch. I already said I circled that game for potential blowout, but I did not know it was going to be a 70 burger. That's the only thing I was wrong about. Chicago, 60-40 game. You could lose that game too. Could. If the Bears put together the proper game plan, you'll lose that game. The Jets, 50-50, but I think the Jets defense is going to be a challenging task, and there is a possibility that you lose that game too. You're definitely not beating the Chiefs. Definitely have a high chance of losing to Green Bay. Definitely losing to the Chiefs again. Coming back off the bye week, you're definitely losing to Buffalo. That's another one circled for blowout material. You think you're going to beat Minnesota? Get the fuck out of here. This team is ass. This team is dog shit. And the team is not bad because of coaching. It's not bad because of Vance Joseph. It's bad because of mismanagement, a bad 53-man roster, and the PR department who hypes this dog shit franchise up every year. You can't blame the front office. No. Got to blame Vance Joseph. Why don't you fire the guy who hired Vance Joseph if it's his fault? Fucking idiots. You guys didn't know anything. You guys were hyping this team up. We're the only ones calling it like it was. We got shadow banned. We got hate. But who turned out to be right in the end? Us. We get the credit. Denver Bronco Mile High View gets the credit. Bucketman gets the credit. I get the credit. Nobody else gets the credit because you guys were hyping this team up in the offseason. You're hating on our channels in the offseason. You're talking shit on our channels in the offseason. And you guys are the ones wearing the clown makeup right now.
I think at some point, and they played well yesterday with Tua, but Teddy Bridgewater, I've had before, he's an outstanding player. And I think that's one of the unique things this year. I counted 8 teams where I believe we're going to see multiple quarterbacks play, not relative to injury, but just a controversy, if you will. I think at some point we'll see 2 in Miami.
You're 2-3. You feel some momentum, and you pull 2 of the next 3 games, which is 2 against the Chiefs, 1 against the Packers. So that means you beat the Packers, and then you pull off an upset against the Chiefs, which would do wonders for this team if they beat the Chiefs and they're at 2-3. That means you're going into the bye 4-4. That means that you're 4-1 in your last 5 games. Like, the season has totally turned around. You're back in this thing.